Licia Castle was teacher here in a amazingly freezing Belgium those days. So we have the snow and it was colder than Montreal, quite amazing for us. For our episode, the last part on gravity, anti-gravity part 3. And this time I made some other questions and a poll on Instagram, as sometimes I do on singing, because it's nice to mix immediately with your ideas and what you think about this topic that it will be the one of today, that is the colloquial voice versus the artistic voice, and especially the colloquial artistic voice. And some of the questions that you have asked me, I will immediately read them, are: is colloquial the speech level? Yeah, probably you have studied with Seth Riggs or with the speech level technique of singing, and in some sort, yes. I don't get this. Yeah, many of you. Isn't voice just voice? Yes, voice is just voice. But since we know that it has still an aura of mysteriousness and many things that we cannot explain, that we cannot get on everybody, yes, voice is just voice, but we want to know mechanisms, tools, development, to get beyond something that was in the past and sometimes happens still now, that is, sorry, you don't have a voice, it's not effective, it's not for you, you can't sing. All those kind of things that we sometimes read in the books and still hear, and still perhaps with some tools and mechanisms, as I see in my practice, because my practice is born exactly from that point. We don't have to say those kind of things anymore. Why colloquial artistic and not just colloquial? Because colloquial is the voice we use for personal use, for ordinary life, and for artistic expression. Is it exactly the same? Not really, but colloquial artistic has become in some sort of category from, we can say, clearly stated and clearly assessed the 60s, something also before in the white community and in general in pop and rock. But if you can think, it was the point somewhere of the blues. Blues is started with the voice, your voice, to express your life, your spirituality, your burden, your soul, your heart, your human condition, everything you want to express with a voice, without a technique, without forcefully to have a training. Then it has developed more refinement and more musical literacy and complexity that has become the jazz. And there the voice from blues had to get to that level even with the voice. Is colloquial the spoken? In some sort, yes. Do not understand the difference. Yeah, we will. There is the how can I say? There is the episode about that. So, why colloquial voice? Because before 20th century, or what you can read and what you can see as music and as voice, what was intended as voice was the artistic technical voice, classical. Of course there was the use of the voice in many other occasions, also singing, but they didn't take a prominence into the musical world and into the books and into the public as it has become from the 20th century. I say blues also and spiritual because of course it has its path and it has become absolutely central, and it has been a source of innovation for all our music. And I was very well said into this interview on Charlie Rose, it's human music. So yeah, first The second, in which it has really become something from also a technical point of view, more clearly in those terms, not from the music but from the voice point of view. It has, with the advent of pop, of rock, of punk, and all this reaction to the classical standards and features of the voice. That were the artistic voices for which we had a technique, or many styles of technique, mostly coming from the Italian bel canto. That is not only Italian, but it has a great Italian school for most times, and it's having a renewal and revival now for technical questions, because they are also, we exceed on one side, we go on the other direction, and then we make a synthesis of the two previous excesses in some sort. Why I say colloquial? Again, Cat Stevens. I asked what it is. Mostly said none of those. To me it's colloquial. Freddie Mercury. 75% artistic, 25% a mix of the two. They have both reason. But mostly you see a difference into the sound, into the capacity of having a sound that is an instrument that has in itself an energy and a presence, that it's not the same aesthetic category of Cat Stevens. Yeah, everybody artistic. Corelli. That is the artistic voice, from all the kind of features you can say from 17th century till, even if the tenors had not the chest voice and the high chest, it was in the style, they went in falsetto. That is something that came later into Romanticism, but still this is the true artistic, precise voice. Frank Sinatra.
I didn't have my favorite dream.
Sinatra. 25% colloquial, 25% artistic, 50% a mix. He studied with Italian bel canto, I think tenor. I know it was a bel canto teacher. I think it was a tenor, but don't mind. I will put also the cover of his technical book, and he made something very specific, that it's something that we are still doing. He mixed both. Since you can hear his spoken voice and the tenderness and the closeness to his individual person of the spoken voice, but with all the capacity expressive from a phraseggio point of view, that is the way of bringing a phrase that is not only a melody but is a musical, sophisticated way of getting from one sound to the other, with many technical tools to make it very specific, even if it is, how can I say, mixed with the colloquial, so he doesn't declare that he's doing that so clearly, but he makes the effect so new that when you read the bel canto treatises of the past, you see exactly what we wanted to obtain from a singer, with what previously was the recitar cantando of Caccini, that required that you had perfect words with all the affections and effects of a soul and of music. And still a sort of revival since 1950s, 1960s especially. Oh, Edith Piaf.
Quand il me prend dans ses bras.
Artistic 25, a mix of those 75. To me, it's mostly artistic, and that's why she has to use those kind of R, the consonants, that in French is not in that way, to give relief, to give accent to something, because we will see that Renée Williams preaches to use consonants to give importance where she mostly teaches, she's the late Renée Williams now, colloquial artistic voice. So she knew that to give power, one of the things we can do is to use the consonants. Carla Bruni.
Ça excède, d'autres que ça vexe. Y en a qui...
Most of you perhaps do not know her. She made a very elegant and refined first album. Then to me, I don't follow her, it's not interesting anymore. She's absolutely colloquial, you say 75%. What are you talking about? Probably are those that do not put her into the singers category. In some sort, she's not into the singers category. But you will judge if you like, because you still can hear and listen to her, because we don't have to be into the category of singers to have dignity to do something with our voice. We do something with our voice, it has dignity. Stop. It also auto give itself dignity from my point of view. Here we are talking technically, not judging the musical relevance. No, it's not to me. I just give tools. Then you have your choices and you take your choices. And choices are of all kind, and I take care of mine, you take care of yours. Here we are giving tools, okay, not judgmental. No need at all. So to me, it is, as the most people, colloquial, absolutely. And when you can hear that she can't do some kind of things, to me it's because she went never into the colloquial artistic, that is the first path to get to the artistic. Yeah, the fantastic Judy Garland, I'm fond of her, I really love passionately.
The night is bitter, the stars have lost their glitter.
Some of you told colloquial artistic, some artistic. To me she is mostly artistic and a great part also of Frank Sinatra path, meaning a mix of the two. So, why colloquial? Because in some sort the thing was with music that you didn't need to be a function well defined to express artistry. Socially we arrived, it started with the Romanticism, and we arrived into the 20th century with the plentiness of this affirmation that was I'm an artist, I can get to art without the need of features, superficial features about that. It was interesting, it was revolutionary, it was very important. It has created contemporary music and contemporary, how can I say, dialogue in between what was thought as music and as sophisticated music and what is thought as being artist and being artistic proficient into the world. So we can exist as individual, we can exist as the dignity of being completely individual, and then it will be history, it will be the public, it will be the others, it will be the world in some sort telling us if we made art or not. But we don't need to be stiffly into a category with stiff features. And the question was, when are we doing art? We take away all the features and we start back and we see when we get to art. Clearly, it was very, very refreshing and important. In the second step, it was the first before, starting with the blues and the black community that was getting to this dignity of existence, of course, because they were absolutely denied and still we are in the process. They made something that the 60s did not with this revolution had made something that in parallel was very important, because now I think they are getting one into the other, making a new synthesis, meaning they are not anymore in parallel in different speed from my point of view, always my point of view, okay, my 2 cents. They started something that was at the basis of what we did with classical music, and we did in refining it when we started with real classical music. That it was at the same time being into the spiritual, into something else, and not just into the human condition, and making this with ourselves, with what we can, with the instruments we have, and with the voice we have. So to me, they started a new renewal of classical music, what we can call the classical music, that was mostly European. Then it came to America, and then in America it started this other completely birth from Africa and from slaves and from black community, and then they came very fast to a level of sophistication that has nothing to, can I say, to be of different from Beethoven, from Mozart, from Bach, from Bernstein. Absolutely nothing they are. To me, absolutely the same level. And it's absolutely fantastic, because they could get into that in a parallel path. And from a voice point of view, there were those that looking for, as Lena Horne, to take something from classical technique and then to make the path to what modern that has taken also from the colloquial voice of the 60s and 70s. I did put Cat Stevens because it's clear. Country music in some sort is always taken that, and is always colloquial artistic, even if it has developed in a more artistic path, because now, as I said many times, we are making a sort of synthesis of things. So, when the colloquial artistic started really to give tools and to give answers to those singers that started as colloquial, or started with the contemporary, we can say modern because it's past and now they still are there and are evolving in another way, but when they started they had not a technical support. And when they tried to study with classical singers or classical teachers, usually, since it was a very different way of organizing the voice, there was some friction and especially some frustration. The first to give tools and to develop a technique for them was Seth Riggs with the speech level singing. That is something that took the colloquial voice, meaning the voice at the level of your spoken voice, that is the natural larynx on which you have developed your spoken voice, and to give to this, by remaining the colloquial voice, an artistic voice. He used what? He used classical Italian bel canto, not in the acception of the 20th century, but in the more instrumental version that was a little forgotten into the 20th century. As I said before, as I cited before, Renee Williams has been very important in Nashville area, and for many singers getting even more close to the colloquial and giving instrument of artistic development, because the flavor of Seth Riggs that worked with classical singers, with most of the renowned pop, rock, soul singers, and in Broadway, now and after a little had the little smell of technical artistic voice. And there was still the research of taking this kind of covered sound and technical sound not into the style, And from Renee Williams we have many singers too, and also Miley Cyrus that I cited the last 2-3 episodes. Is the technique of Renee Williams supporting the voice of Miley Cyrus now? In my view and in my technical analysis, no. Because the colloquial voice first connects what? To the colloquial energy, to the everyday energy of your voice, and to make it sing, remaining in some sort yourself. So you have to think that it takes away the action of the other segments of the body and the other tools we can have, and we started seeing from the previous biological episodes that we have to take care, as for example the pharynx that has tendency to collapse. So how we can maintain it open into our colloquial life, it is our experiential personal life, we found ways to maintain it open. And this also for some singing can be enough, can be good, can be absolutely to make an entire career on. But sometimes it is not, for many reasons, many reasons. Those many reasons are usually those reasons while some that criticize those kind of technical tools as the Renee Williams. Is Renee Williams, or I'm saying badly? No, sorry, Renee Grant Williams, I correct myself. Sorry. Those tools can be enough if your colloquial spoken voice is yet the expression of yourself without avoidances, without some dysfunctionalities, without some shynesses, for example, without some misunderstanding of the system of how expressing some things. Meaning that you connect your spoken voice, and very often it will not get to be the expression of your creativity and of the idea and the ideal ideas of music that you have. And this in the long term is a problem, because those techniques make your voice sound better and develop if your spoken voice is at the point of reacting to your creativity when saying it that way. If it doesn't, they will not usually correct your voice, usually because there are always exceptions. One can have an aha moment and an insight for which he changes what was the pattern not effective into their voice production. Also with those techniques, yes, of course. We are very resourceful human beings, so we have not just one way. But if we have to say statistically and mostly we have to do some other interventions. In my practice, I do not treat the spoken voice, because you will see in this page from the 4 Voices of Men, from Great Singers on Great Singings of, I don't remember the name, yes, I will write it. It will say that usually you have a resistance and a refusal in changing your spoken voice, because it's your private voice. So I usually prefer, as it was in the technique previously, when they could connect enough your voice, not to matter too much, because we can change your voice with what will become the artistic tools. What I mean by artistic tools, and what is the evolution, for example, of Miley Cyrus, and what has been the research of Freddie Mercury, for example. It is that when you get with some orchestras, when you get with some energies of the band, when you get to some kind of aesthetic energies, as I said last time, when you want to give accelerations, when you want to have the energies of a roller coaster, the colloquial voice will not be enough. That's why I call it colloquial. It's not enough. It's not that it's not enough to make music. It is not enough for some forms of music and for some extremes of the, how can I say, of the extension. It is not enough to have some kind of harmonics. It is not enough to get to some artistry and capacity instrumental, and so we have to do something. What it is that we do? Well, before course method, we had to try to do some classical training, because mostly it is said if you don't start well, some classical training very often will move your voice in a more, can I say, favorable 0 point from which start back with those techniques that are more close to your style. Yeah, absolutely. And why it is? Because when we get to the artistic voice, we are starting involving the oppositions of the segments of the body to do more, and not just what we have as capacity yet in our body from our life, and from, especially if you see Grant Williams exercises, by letting the pressure under the glottis, that if you remember it is the line of closure of the vocal folds, and so you can also think about the pressure under the vocal folds being measured by what? By the quantity of air that you have. This quantity of air has a limit, since from first episodes on the respiratory systems we cannot overstretch the tissue of the lungs, because you are going to endommage the tissue of the lungs. So we can do what? We can use the muscles of respiratory muscles to put more air inside without overstretching, because so you are going to put more work from outside into the volume and into the chest. It is going to get some elastic force into the chest, the wall of the chest, and the inspiratory muscles are going to maintain the high lung volume. And many techniques have been developed using that. In my experience, these will not get to the artistic voice. And for today, I will put for you, so as I was saying, today I will put for the first time, no, the first was very slight, some examples of what is Casso method that is exactly into this path of saying, okay, you start with a voice that is not optimal for yourself and your style. There could be that you get to your colloquial voice and you make all your career with your colloquial voice, but you start that your colloquial voice is not where your spoken voice is. And so you can get there. This is the new thing that I found and I work on since 15 years with great results and great fulfillment and achievements from my clients. And I will put some examples for you which are one solved and the other not solved yet.
So I won't let you close enough to earn me too much. So young, I faced on my own. Walls I built closer. I've died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years.
Because you have to realize that now we can get there. It is not that the others do not have this same, how can I say, desire of goal, but they didn't find the tools to do that, because voice can be very delicate instrument. So the most it was proposed usually was you remain with your spoken voice. Eventually you work a bit on your spoken voice if the spoken voice presents some problems, and then we make this spoken voice sound better. But I know that some souls and hearts and creativities do not fits well there. And this is why I'm doing those episodes, because I've been searching on that and how to get to a voice that is the voice that should have developed in that person as the true voice, not from a personal point of view. We let the spoken voice where it is, but we work on the different elements, all the elements that we've seen from a biological point of view, with some hierarchies that are more convenient to be used and to get there, because if we have to get to the ideal, we are not getting there. The ideal is useful to see the ingredients and then to understand what are the better options for the person. Some will be mostly for everyone, and those are things that I'm going to present at the next annual symposium of the Voice Foundation in Philadelphia. Very honored they accepted all my 3 abstracts, so on those topics I will not be specific, because it is for that presentation and that you will have public. And but I was saying, it is exactly with some specific tools of hierarchies, because some can be good enough for your instrument and not good enough for another, and so with some we will work on those, and with some other we will have the fundamentals covered and then some specifics. Start thinking that voice is a mosaic, and you want to see the mosaic. You don't have to have all the elements. Sometimes you need some elements and it's enough. Some other times you need more elements, and some other times you try to solve everything with one piece, making it bigger, 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 and you still don't see the mosaic. It's enough. See you next time.